Good morning. I am done with the corset journal and I'm really pleased with the way it came out. I wanted to give you a flip through, starting with this shoulder strap that I was able to use as a closure. So I just kind of tied the strap in and it can be easily adjusted. You can adjust it here, you can untie it here and make it a little bit bigger. You add things inside, and then I actually added a piece of a shoulder strap onto the cover. This book called The Running Fight, which I kind of thought was appropriate for a corset journal, had a different image, and this image just seemed way more appropriate. Also, that little waist on her. It was actually, this image was part of a calendar from, I think, 1911. So I used this image, I added it to the cover, added this little shoulder strap, and I did a hidden binding. So take you inside. I used papers from Mind Verity on Etsy, and I will put a link in there. She asked me to create a corset journal with her amazing papers, which I quickly said absolutely. Number one, because I've been wanting to do a journal on corsets, and also because I really do love her papers. I've used some of her other papers in the past, and I was just excited to use these. I love the colors of them, and I love the aging of them, and anyone who's familiar with my work knows I like the vintage looks. So that's what I started with in the front, and I didn't cover anything up because I just love the way this looked. The roses, the corset, the colors. So as I said, I did a hidden binding. So I sewed the signatures to a piece of avocado dyed fabric, and you can see a little glimpse of that in here. And then once I glued that to the book, I glued this page on top of it. I used coffee dyed and avocado dyed papers throughout the book, and these are papers that I had purchased from GT Designs. Renee is wonderful, and she dyes the larger size pages, the 11 by 17, which I love because I can use them in many different ways with the bigger sizes, and I don't have the space to dye papers that large on my own. So here's avocado dyed, beautiful napkin, or I'm sorry, handkerchief that I have cut out. And this is from the kit from Mind Verity, this from the corset kit, and this flower is also from the corset kit. I sewed this piece to the page, glued this piece, glued the handkerchief, and this is a copy of a piece of vintage ephemera that I have that I just attached to a piece of avocado dyed index card. I love this. It says, "My dress will fit perfectly because of this corset, I'm sure." So there's our first corset. I don't know how people wore those. I'm so glad I don't have to. Here's, I had quite a few pieces of ephemera from antique magazines, and this is one of them that I just glued to the page, and I used the stitching from the other page to kind of frame it. Did a little stamping, added a piece of lace border, which all the lace that I've used in here is antique lace, and you'll see several pages where I used it along the edge of the page. This is also from an antique magazine. I just put the whole page in here because it was a very cool page. Dealers everywhere sell them. So look at the tiny waists in here. Somebody commented on a couple pictures that I posted, where did the organs go, which I think was hysterical because that's a really good question. Here's another page from Mind Verity. Beautiful flowers, beautiful woman, beautiful aging. I really do love her style on her pages. This is a copy of an antique invoice for Corsets, May 11th, 1903. The Pandora Corset Company. It looks like a dozen corsets for $9. Okay then. And this is actually an antique piece of ephemera. Adjustable duplex corsets, Boar Tree Manufacturing. So I put this actual antique ephemera inside. Believe me, I've already scanned it, but look at that corset that she's wearing. She slides right inside here, inside the pocket, and another piece of antique lace border here. Some stitching around the edges of the invoice. Sometimes I stitch right to the page, and sometimes I stitch and then glue it to the page. Little button-in piece of antique lace here. This is a copy of Antique Ephemera for Ball's Corsets, which is a very popular brand because I've seen a lot of ephemera. And this is also stitched, but not to the page. As I said, this one I stitched around the border and then glued it to the page. Here's another piece that is from an antique magazine. Great coffee dye. I like the variety of the coffee dye from Renee's Papers. I love to purchase her papers. I'm a little stuck there. Here's a copy of an antique photo. I stitched around the border and mounted her on a piece of avocado dyed paper and tucked her in here under a piece of antique lace. Another of these beautiful pages from Mind Verity. Nice collaging, nice aging. Just fits perfectly with what I wanted to do. The other half of that magazine page. Corsets. Glad those are a thing of the past, but beautiful. So this is a nice die cut that Dana Legacy was kind enough to send me some die cuts when she saw I was working on corsets, and I had a lot of fun playing with them. I think I have 3 or 4 of them in here. She was so generous with what she sent me. So this one I just glued to the envelope, which is the other half of the handkerchief. So when I put that in here, I just folded it around the page so I could get a couple different pockets out of it. And all of this, these are copies. This is a copy of obviously the construction of the corset, and copy of another advertisement here. And then this is actually from an antique magazine. So I just tuck these in here. You know, it's always easier to tuck things in when you're not filming for some reason. So I think these gave a nice little variety in here. Avocado paper, more of the Mind Verity pages. A little bit of advertising, nice collaging again. This page is just beautiful, and the flowers are just beautiful. This is another picture of an antique, off of an antique postcard, and I just used a piece of that handkerchief as a border around the bottom, and tucked in some magazine pages, magazine advertisements from an antique magazine here too. Little bit of glue stuck. Another piece of antique lace on the edge of the page. This is a page from Mine Verity, and I just added another piece from the excuse me, another piece from the antique magazine. And then this is the lady from the cover, and the 1913 is the calendar date here. So this was an advertising calendar. And here's another piece from that handkerchief that I just made into a little tuck spot. Excuse me, I'm sorry. This pretty lace, it's got the little flowers on it. And I love this page, and I used it a few times in here because I just loved the flowers on it and the layout. There is another image underneath here, but I thought this was a great way to frame some of the images that I had. So look at the waist on this one, and here's another piece of the excuse me, I'm sorry, it's the medication I'm taking that makes me cough. This is another one of the die cuts from Dana that I thought looked great with that corset, and another magazine advertisement. Great picture, look at that. I like the background, I like the writing in the background on that page. Lots of coffee dyed, avocado dyed. Here's another antique ad from a magazine that I just glued to a piece of cardstock and made a little tuck spot out of it. And this is from an antique photograph. I don't know how well you can see it, but he's really trying hard to get that corset tied tight on her. $4.98. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Look at that waist. The images are just lovely in here. And I love the aging of the pages. Beautiful pages. And here's that avocado dyed fabric that I used for the hidden spine. Another piece of the handkerchief. And another advertisement from a magazine. This is actually a copy that I scanned in. This is from the kit. I just cut it out and glued it as a background on the page. I love that they are actually making the children wear these. Started them young. Piece of antique lace. And another of the die cuts. I really did have fun with these. I took a little piece of antique fabric from a wide piece of lace. So this was just a fabric attached to it. And I glued it in between the die cuts. So that gave it a little bit of texture. It looks a little bit more realistic, and I just added a piece of lace and a little piece of the napkin just to highlight it a little bit. This beautiful page, beautiful background for it. More pages. I like the stout woman. Considering that I am a stout woman, I thought it was appropriate, but I thought that was kind of fun to include in here. So I mounted her on a doily and made a pocket. And here's another copy of a magazine advertisement. This is just a piece of ribbon that I kind of bunched up a little and used as a border. You can see the bottom of the hanky here, or the doily, and I wrapped the doily around the side and made a pocket. And here's another, this is from the magazine. Lots of corset advertisements in those old magazines. Here's a patent for a corset part, at least for the shoulder strap part, that I thought was kind of cool. So I tore it up and aged it up a lot, a copy of it, and made it into just kind of a, backed it up with some corsets, and I made it into just kind of a little fold out. I used some fabric here, glued that down, kind of a cover for this beautiful lady that Kim Matthews let me copy because I kept admiring it on her site, and I just love that image and the color in it. So got this little flip out that covers her up, but don't like covering her up because I love her. More papers, just a little piece of lace that you could use as a tuck spot. More antique lace. And this magazine I made into an envelope, and I just tucked some images in here. This is a copy of another invoice, some more antique copies of advertisements, and I just tucked them in the envelope here. And I tucked another piece of antique lace, which I don't know if you can see the texture on that lace, but beautiful, just beautiful lace. Look at how pretty that is. Just love these images on these papers. More antique lace on the border there. So this little girl, this tag is also part of the kit, and this tag is also part of the kit. But this little girl is from an advertisement, and I put her in here in kind of a, I made a little tuck spot for her out of lace, and the reason I did that is because I didn't want to lose the other half of this, which basically talks about training the form in childhood to grow with natural grace. So basically starting them young on the corsets, which, oh dear. As you see, I have another handkerchief here, which is folded around the page, just like the first one was. So I kind of like the way that works out, because I play with it a little bit and I can get it to give me a couple tuck spots, and they both look a little bit different. This lady's from an antique magazine, and I glued her into the background, and then this is also from the kit. I just like the way it all went together there. Another piece of antique lace. Beautiful, beautiful pages. Look at this lady and her waist, and just the invoices in the background. All just beautiful pages. Beautiful aging. Another Ball's Corsets was a copy of an antique ad, and then she was cut out of a magazine, and I added her to that. This is from the kit, another nice little piece that you can use in lots of places. I just thought it added a little something here. Made a little collage myself. And then here's some additional copies of antique advertisements, tucked in with a piece of antique lace. These great, great coffee dyed papers, avocado, great, great image. Look at that corset, look at that waist. I just love all the combination of everything on this page. And you see the antique lace sticking out here. Here's another image that's cut out of a magazine that I mounted on cardstock and cut it out just so I could make a little tuck spot, different kind of tuck spot. And then just added these different advertisements from magazines, just to give it a little bit of interest. Coffee dyed papers. Another, as I said, I really like this page. And this is from the Antique Laces. Great little applique. And these ladies and their little waists, I just thought they went really nicely in here. Coffee dyed papers, plenty of writing space, plenty of places to add things. Another beautiful page. I love the color combination on these pages. And here's a copy of a corset advertisement. I put some tatting around there. And another copy of that $9. So it's another copy of the corset invoice. And this is what I really enjoyed. It's called Correct Corset Adjustment. Copied out of an antique magazine. Talks about any woman can be charming if she is well groomed and graceful. Talks about how to line the corset up to make sure you look well groomed and graceful, apparently. So it's an interesting read and kind of fun article. I'm glad those days are over, as I said before. Another piece of antique lace that I kind of gathered up to give it a little bit more interest. And this beautiful lady with this tiny, tiny little waist is another advertisement for R&G corsets, mounted on an index card that's avocado dyed, and just a little piece of lace on the edge. It sticks out of the, and brings us to the back. This great page. Isn't that great? Look at that corset. Just love how she arranges everything in here. And here's another one of the die cuts from Dana. I took a piece of lace and attached it to the back part of the corset, and then I put the die cut over it, and I like the lacy look of that, and I used it in a little lace tuck spot of antique lace, which is really soft and pretty. And I just tucked this other advertisement in here for corsets with a little girl on it again. And this is another page from the kit as well, which gave me a nice place to add some things. But look at the aging. I really do enjoy this kit, and I enjoyed these pages. I enjoyed working with the corsets. Glad I don't have to wear them. I enjoyed this lady a lot, and I hope you enjoyed the corset journal. Thanks for watching.